This week on Chapters Over Coffee, we're at the end of the book, and there's a lot to unpack here. Plus, we are only a couple weeks of the release of book 2. Before I fully go into the notes, I want to give a small warning that for a brief moment we talk about a subject, but don't worry, it's not full-blown in-depth, but it is mentioned. I debated whether I wanted to talk about that theory or not.
Well, I mean, you gotta at least let me know because you hinted that you found one, and then now you're gonna have to wait till Friday.
Oh, no, not that theory. The other...
So you got 2 you didn't tell me
No,
about.
the one about Fisher and Malcolm. The theory about Fisher and Malcolm.
Oh, yeah.
That we had already talked about, like, to make sure, like,
yeah,
I was, like...
Yeah.
I wasn't missing anything, yeah.
My bad.
I wanted to, like, put that little warning. Like, it's not, like, full-blown, but there is a theory out there. I just don't believe the theory. I don't know. But there is a really good theory that I will tell you at the end. And it will make sense. It totally makes sense. All right, so last week we ended with Belican releasing Fisher from his oath to not speak about Gilthray. I'll still mess that word up. Tens of thousands of vampires had gathered at the gates of Gilthray. Most of Fisher's army was fighting... okay, so like this is him telling his story, sorry. Most of Fisher's army was fighting a smaller army of feeders. They realized too late that it was a distraction, and Fisher didn't have time to move any more of his army through the gate. So at this point, it was only 7 of the Lupo Parolia against 20,000 vampires. The horde was already inside the gates, along with the Fae who were outside celebrating the festival of the first song, making it easier for the feeders to feed. So Fisher went to find Malcolm to kill him on his own, but instead he had found Belican. We also get confirmation that Belican killed his mother due to being useless for being the greatest oracle of time. He slit her throat after Everlane was born. But when Malcolm arrives, Fisher realizes that him and Belican were allies before the blood curse, but did not know that Madra was in ties with them up until now. So, like, in the present. Fisher wanted to make a bargain for the few people that were still alive. So Belican proposed a deal, and you know it's nothing good with Belican. Like, at this point, you know nothing's good.
Yeah.
If the coin hit the ground, leaf side up, Malcolm would call off his horde, leave the city without hurting any living thing. If the coin hit the ground, fish side up, he would take the city as his own and destroy it. And I love, like, I had seen that interview about the 2 sides of the coin. Like, she talked about why she picked the pictures on the coin because she's a big Lord of the Rings fan.
Yes. Fucking love that.
And I tell you what, I'm serious. Ever since I seen the interview that she used Adam Driver and somebody else for her inspiration for Kingfisher, all I see is Adam Driver in this picture.
And can I say that there's a rumor going around that Henry Cavill is apparently going to play Fisher in the movie or show
a lot of
or whatever is
people...
happening, and people are actually kind of pissed because people want Henry Cavill for everything. And
well,
honestly,
a lot of people...
I don't see it. I don't see it at all.
A lot of people are mad because they say he looks too old. But if we're going to go with an older male, just get Adam Driver. I mean, she used him for inspiration. Just get Adam Driver to play Kingfisher. We'll be okay.
I do feel, I do feel that as far as Fisher's personality and, like, his gruff, like, voice and attitude and everything like that, Henry Cavill would fucking do it because it almost reminds me of, like, a whole, like, Geralt thing from The Witcher with, like, his and his growl and stuff like that. That I feel like personality-wise, he would, like, put life into Fisher on the screen. But look-wise, I don't think that it's him. I do not think that it's him. And people were like, he'd be good as Ren or Lorith or, something like that as like on his side and everything, but
No,
he's not
no,
exactly Fisher. But
no.
um but yeah, so people are like, "Oh, I can see it. Oh, I can't." I feel like voice-wise, like if he had like did a graphic audio and voiced Fisher, I feel like that would be a decent fit. But on screen, I don't see it. I don't see it at all. And I love Henry Cavill. So for me to say that is like, no. Because, yeah, I've loved pretty much everything that he's been in. And they're doing a Highlander remake that I'm fucking stoked about. So, yeah, my childhood heart is happy watching that with dad growing up. And now they're doing a reboot and making new ones. And I'm 100% here for it. Anyways, that's my tangent on that. Sorry, off topic, but
I mean,
that's
it kind of it goes. I met.
my news snippet for this week that I seen. So with all the announcements of everything else that's happening, had to throw that in there.
Okay. I don't know what all I said here. If the coin hit the ground fish side up, he would take the city as his own and destroy it. Malcolm would. Fisher would have to leave those still alive and meet him on the battlefield at a later date. He was not allowed to Fisher was not allowed to influence the way it fell, nor could he touch the coin. He couldn't harm Belican or Malcolm until the outcome of the coin toss was decided. He wasn't allowed to speak of the deal or that Belican and Malcolm were brothers. This right here, the way it was worded, should have gave it away until the outcome of the coin toss was decided, meaning that it wasn't going to be decided right then and there. Like, that's too easy. The way that was worded should have, like, you knew something wasn't right. Fisher agrees to this and makes the blood oath with Belican. Belican then tosses the coin, but Malcolm caught it. So the coin never hit the ground, allowing Malcolm's children to feast. So, to put them out of their misery, Fisher torches the city. He barricades the city, trapping everyone inside. Gilthry, whatever the word is, was home to 200,000. If they were to join Malcolm's horde, they would have swallowed the entire realm. There would have been nothing left. So, to this, Malcolm decided that he would torment Fisher. And then this is where Madra decides to finally chime in about Fisher being handsome. And she can see why Malcolm wanted to keep him as a pet. Now, I have a quote because Malcolm talks about the labyrinth. Malcolm says, "Well, I created the most diabolically lethal labyrinth I could conjure in my mind, dear sister. I hid Belican's coin at its center, and then I created this coliseum around it and filled the sands with the perpetually burning bodies of all the creatures our poor little bleeding heart here had wanted to save. All he had to do to end their suffering was find the coin and make it fall to the ground. Obviously, it would be too late to save the Fae from death, but at least it would end their suffering, and then he would be free to seek his vengeance by calling me out onto the battlefield." And then it jumps to Saris because she gets completely possessive over Fisher when Madra starts to touch him. Even Kingfisher tries to get her to stop, but Madra brushes it off, saying Malcolm has always let her play with his toys, and Fisher was not having it. So he states, "Remove yourself from me or you won't like what happens next." Madra's like, oh wait, that's when she says about playing with his toys. And then So Fisher says that he plays back, "It might not be today, but oh, I am coming to find you, Madra. Fear the shadows, bitch. I made of them. One night soon, I'll climb out of one and slit your fucking throat." She's like, "Oh, what lucky girl I am." And then she asks what she had done to deserve such special attention from him. And
Where do I
this,
begin?
yes, this though, he states, "You spayed my mate when she was a fucking child. For that alone, I'll make your undying existence an unending agony, an eternity of suffering, the likes of which even your evil-minded cannot comprehend. You'll know no peace at my hands. I will destroy your empire and erase your name from the annals of time. When I am done with your legacy, Madra, the undying will never have existed, and you'll live on at my behest, suffering for all of eternity, and no one will know, and no one will care." So this terrifies her. I think I'm done with that one. This completely like terrified her. And I'm sorry to say this, but I can't stand the way they talk to each other. Pelican, Maja, and Malcolm. To me, I cringe when it's always like, "I know what you mean, brother. Yes, my dear sister." Like, yes, we get you're all related somehow. But like, I cringe when you call each other brother and sister in every damn sentence. And then they talk half the time like they're lovers.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
are you siblings or are you lovers? Like, there's a fine
Yeah.
line between the two, like, that you should not cross.
Yeah.
But because I'm pretty sure, wasn't it at one point Majda called one of the guys like an endearment type, like you would call like a lover?
Like they say, she calls him darling.
Yes, like why would you call your brother darling?
Yeah, it's right after her little comment about how like foul-tempered he is. Because Malcolm kind of like brushes it off, like after she
Oh
says,
yes,
like
you're right, darling. Yes.
stuff. Yeah. But I like how he brushes her off, like, do you mind? You're ruining my story. Like,
Yes,
shut the
but
fuck up, bitch.
still.
Like, come on. This is about me right now. This has nothing to do with you.
Yes, but still, it's like
Yeah, I don't like it either.
I cringe when they it's over
I don't like it
it's
either.
overused, the whole brother sister thing, and then the way they speak to each other, like,
But darling
ugh.
sister, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
Ew. I don't
know.
like
Maybe
you
that's
enough
an
to do
ick.
that.
Maybe that's like an
I love
ick for
you.
me.
I love you, but
I'll
I don't
call you
like
by
you
your
enough to call
name.
you darling.
I'll call you by your name. Like, I mean, you call me Biddy. That's
Yeah.
that's about it.
Yeah, I call everybody Biddy though.
But like, darling, just call me by my name, please.
Yeah.
Just don't use the word
I'll
sister
call you
either.
I'll call you bitch before I call you darling.
Don't call me sister either. My dear sister,
No.
like,
Oh, no.
they're
That
like, ugh.
that drives me crazy as much as a kid saying mother, father, or son. Now son, come on now, son, or oh daughter, like just stop, okay? Like I know my title with you, okay? I'm your fucking daughter. Yeah, I get that, but you don't have to call me daughter.
Or the whole
It
daughter
drives me
of
crazy.
mine, like,
Yes.
there's a fine line between certain things.
Yeah,
To
like
each
mine
their own,
calls
I
me
guess, though.
mother. Connor calls me mother, and it's like, stop. I hate that. And mom. I'd rather you call
I
me
tell you
mommy.
what, yes.
Stop.
See, all the kids called me mommy. It was never mom. So when they switched to mom, I felt so weird. I'm like, no, you always call me
Yeah,
like mommy.
yeah.
Baby calls
Now
me
I'm
mama.
mother.
I'm mama.
Oh.
I'm
Cooper
mom
calls
or
me
mama.
mama. Cooper
Brie
calls me mama.
calls.
Sometimes Connor has upgraded to mother.
Jeremy does that to me too, yes. It must be a teenager thing. Brie calls Daryl Fatty. She calls him Fatty. All right, back on track.
Yeah.
Malcolm mentions him and Fisher having scintillating conversations. I had no idea what this word meant. I had to Google it. Do I
Scintillating.
do I remember what it means? Not really, but in-depth conversations, okay? That's kind of what it is. Now, we still don't know everything that happened during this time, and this is where we kind of get into this subject. There is a theory out there that people are assuming that he was essayed by Malcolm. I don't see it. I don't see it. Am I missing something?
I
I didn't
don't see it
interpret it.
either, but I I don't 100% think that he was. I do see where people are coming from with
But I
maybe
just.
thinking that it's maybe a read between the lines thing. It's neither confirmed nor denied because of the whole my love, like he wants Fisher. So it may not have even been,
It's more of an
I don't know.
infatuation.
Yeah. Um, but he might have been assaulted other ways and not like obviously touched
Excuse me.
or anything like that. But Malcolm is pretty nasty that it could have been a number of things that he might have done to him if he didn't actually touch him. Just like wanting him and teasing him and just
Right.
demoralizing him. Just, I don't know. But I do see where people are maybe coming from with thinking that it happened.
I don't feel like it
But
actually happened.
I
And maybe
see,
I'm
I
wrong,
didn't, yeah,
but I didn't
I
get
didn't
that
get that either,
impression.
but maybe
And
I
it's
didn't
never been
want
as
to confirm that.
yeah, as far as I know, it's never been confirmed nor denied. But I did see somebody had assumed that it did happen. I didn't see the in between the lines. And maybe I missed it. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
It took Fisher 102 years to get to the center and 8 years looking for the coin. Now, again, he calls Fisher my love, which this causes him to flinch. Again, maybe this is what people believe something happened to him. And as far as I know, it hasn't been confirmed that I know of. One day, Talladega was checking on Fisher when he was seen dropping into the Quicksilver pool. And after reading his bonus chapter, that is not totally what happened. He was already there, for one. And he kind of just let him.
Yeah. And I think that
Just let him.
obviously Tal is gonna like save his ass and not tell him what happened. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know, I just happened to show up as he was jumping ship and off he was, and I couldn't stop him or anything like that, which was smart. But
Yes.
yeah.
Um, Malcolm, see, and I think this is another way why people believed that theory is Malcolm states that he offered Fisher a way out, but Fisher would not accept because later on we do find out that Malcolm wanted a taste of Fisher's blood. He wanted to feed. He also wanted to feel Fisher feed off of him. Like he wanted that pleasure of Fisher feeding off of him as well. So maybe that's where they were thinking too. Again, I just don't see it personally. Then Malcolm again asks what made Fisher want to leave. And Carrion pipes up about being bored to death. But Malcolm states that he doesn't like him, states something feels off, which is because carrying fucking Swift is the heir and cure. Hello. So, distracting Malcolm's attention off of Carrion, Fisher tells him why he left. He says he felt his father's sword calling to him, which in fact was not his sword calling, but he knew he needed. He knew he'd need it. Next thing, he's got solace in his hands and is plunging it into Belkin's stomach and then his neck, stating it was for his parents. Malcolm went to lunge for Fisher, but Lorth stopped him by nicking his neck with a Visieth. All hell breaks loose, so Fisher uses this to let them know that they needed to run. But Saris notices Heron running at her, but she was prepared and stabs him in the stomach. Fisher's still yelling at everyone to go get to the labyrinth because Saris is... what did I write? Oh, he's trying to get them to leave because Saris is fighting Heron. Malcolm wants to go after Lorith for nicking him, and Carrion's fighting off the feeders at this time. Madra's on the sidelines yelling at Heron to end her and Saris. But we learn that somehow Madra was gifting Heron eternity. Because he's been around for a very, very long time. So we need more in depth than that. Saris and him are still fighting each other when she gets the advantage and snaps his neck. Madra is flipping her shit on it because that was her man. And then they take off for the labyrinth. In the labyrinth, Fisher tells them that the first 10 steps are always the same. Then you hit the first obstacle before the route to the center changes. As Fisher leads them through those steps, Saris and him are communicating through their mind. She wondered if he had a plan. He does have a plan. He had planned on using her, but before he can tell her, they came across a spider that was 3 times the height of a fully grown man named Morthel. Is that how it's pronounced?
I think so.
Morthel?
I think so.
It's either Morthill or Morthel, the way it's spelled. He had more legs than she could count. Its abdomen was a fleshy bulb, molted red and black, covered in long hairs. Its front half was part fey, a male torso with distended, bloated stomach, thin, emaciated arms, and greasy black hairs. He had no ears, no nose, or eyes. And a massive circular mouth with concentric, I think that's the word, row after row of jagged teeth. I thought of Huggy Wuggy's mouth. If anybody knows what Huggy Wuggy's mouth, because it's got the rows upon rows of teeth. That's kind of how I pictured it. It cannot see or hear them, but it can track their movements. Morthel is a demon who will stun you with their stinger and eat you alive slowly over a period of days. We learned that there were 3 exits, but only one of them was the right way. Fisher wants Saris to find the Quicksilver pool at the center. When she found the correct one, it was the one right behind Morthel. So Lorth and Saris makes it to the exit when the walls begin to shift. This causes Fisher and Carrion to spring into action, which in turn causes Morthel to go after them. Morthel makes it over the obsidian wall, and Fisher notes that he wasn't supposed to leave his enclosure. So they're fighting this demon for a little before Lorth shows a Visieth through its mouth and out the back of its skull. Fisher states that he will respawn, but he will be smaller and faster. Saris was guiding them through the labyrinth, but the walls were changing faster, so Fisher notes that Malcolm's trying to stop them and that Saris was going the right way. And at one point, this Quicksilver speaks, she comes, this way, alchemists, come and find us." Eventually, they find all the coins, mountains of at least 1 million tiny coins. Lorith asked Fisher, what he ate and what he slept there during all those years, but Malcolm was the one who answered. He talks about his Fey magic still sung a dark course in his veins, and he used it to craft the labyrinth for Kingfisher so he wouldn't need to rest or eat as long as he stayed within the bounds. And then next we have Majra and Belican show up, and we learn that it's 3 crowns sharing one source. And you must kill them all. You just can't kill one. Now, I would want more on the source that they share. Yes. Like, what is this source that all 3 of them are sharing? And how is one Fae, actually 2 of them were Fae, just one turned vampire, but Majra was human. But yet, how are they fully brother-sister? Like, is it just 3 friends that, like, came together saying they were close and just saying brother or sister? Like, kind of need more. I have another quote because did I write the wrong page number? Okay, nope, I got it. So Fisher states, because him and Belican are going back and forth, that he won't be beaten until he's dead. So Belican states, and I thought this was kind of important. He said, "Oh, that moment can't come soon enough for me. I've wanted to put you in the ground from the moment your mother whelped you, but you'll be dead soon enough, and I'll have your father's sword to mount on my wall right beside your skull. I'll also have the alchemist to forge all of the relics I need. Between the 3 of us, we'll bring the old gods to their knees and claim every realm we desire while we're at it. Now, will you die on your knees or face down in the dirt? The choice is yours." So Carrion, being Carrion, pipes up at this point and says a little too much. He calls Belican out for handing over his daughter to be tortured and enthralled by a vampire. He also told Belican that the venom was being sucked out of Everlane's system right now. Cyrus is trying to get him to shut up. But while all this is going on, Fisher and Cyrus are mind talking again about the coins and how Cyrus believes that they're all an illusion, that the real coin was not there. And then we go back to Malcolm and Carrion again, and Malcolm points out that a human like him can't stop them. They were immortal, they were gods. Without fighting back, Carrion just lets Malcolm snap his head forward and sink his teeth out into him this moment. Cyrus is now losing it and wants them to do something about it, but Lorith and Fisher are both holding her back at this point. There was nothing they could do. They would all die trying to pull Malcolm off of him. And then next thing you know, Malcolm just stops, and it was real that Carrion was not Carrion Swift, but in fact Carrion Dianthus, firstborn son of Rorik and Amelia Dianthus. So Malcolm drank the Dianthus blood, which causes him to choke on his own blood, because we find out that the curse was actually made from their blood, but was also the cure. I think is how it was. I know it's the cure, but I think it also kind of, they're the reasons like the curse was made or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Fisher uses distraction to ask Cyrus if she can sense the coin. We learned that it was not at the center of the labyrinth, but it was somewhere in there. Oh, I got an itchy nose. I feel like there's a hair. So as Cyrus makes her way back through the labyrinth, she noticed how quiet it is. The bodies in the stand had went silent. As she was getting closer, she heard the Quicksilver calling her name. She wanted its help, but in return, they wanted a bargain. This causes Cyrus to admit that she loves Kingfisher and she can't bear him to die. So, to her confession, the Quicksilver decided it wanted a small favor instead, as well as a restoration of balance and for love. Once she agreed to the Quicksilver, it led her to where Morthal's dead body was at and said they were inside. She had to reach into the back of its throat to reach the coin, and when she did that, she noticed her skin was stained black, runes upon runes upon runes, and the god bindings flared metallic blue because she finally acknowledged that Fisher was her mate out loud.
Yeah.
I know. Once she has the coin, Morthal twitched, causing her to panic slightly, but instead of responding, a voice stated, "You better give me that coin, girl." None other than Malcolm. At this point, he has a hold of her wrists or her hand, trying to free the or get the coin free, telling her she shouldn't interfere with immortal affairs. He didn't think that the people or Fisher had suffered enough. Cyrus notes that Malcolm's breath smelled of death, his flesh was melting away from his bones, sloughing away in wet fibrous slabs from his cheeks and neck. And then I told you quite a few things that I had quoted in here because they're very, very important. But he states that he was intrigued by her because an alchemist after so many years, I wasn't surprised to learn that Madra tried to kill you all off centuries ago. She was always afraid of your kind. I suppose it would have been impossible to track all of you down, though. It's notoriously difficult to detect magic in half-blood fae. She probably allowed one or two of them to slip through her fingers. They must have hidden in her city and started families and bred. Our fae blood must have been diluted over the centuries, reduced to less than a whisper in a bloodline. But then you come along. I have to say, I'm impressed. A genetic throwback with your kind of power is inconceivable. You know, there was a time when I worked very closely with your kind. It was a very talented alchemist who discovered the key to my blood gift. She was remarkable in many ways, deeply disappointing in others. Perhaps I should keep you alive once this is all done. I seem to be in need of another miracle, thanks to that bastard Dianthus wretch. I want to know, who is this alchemist and what happened to them?
No, maybe in the second book we'll get a little bit more backstory. Maybe they'll be a little bit more like forthcoming with information that they share with her.
Like, did they lose their mind? Like, because it was said like the alchemists kind of lost their mind. Was she one of them?
Yeah.
Cyrus tells him that she can only work with Quicksilver, but Malcolm pretty much says that she's ignorant. So I'm kind of wondering if, though, we explore this in book 2, because he names off her runes of what each one meant.
Yeah, so all of those, that's where they kind of, I seen that they kind of think that that's
because
it's
be Earth.
Of their book.
Yeah, I had it put up here, like, I was wondering, like, if we explore it in book 2, because, you know, he names off her room. And then I was talking about how he did get the coin from her, but he also points out her tattoos, naming them one at a time: earth, air, fire, water, salt, and brimstone. Or Quicksilver. He also states that she has more power than any alchemist he has encountered. And according to him, she's able to restore him to his power and a lot more. So I'm hoping in Brimstone, this is what we get to, like, explore. Although we do know that it's 50% Fisher's point of view. But I'm still kind of hoping, you know, that we get, like, more in depth of her powers.
I do think that this is one of those, like, read between the lines on page 578. Sorry.
I have that one. Yes, I have. Yeah. I have it quoted, like, to read, because this is why I think we're people, but I still don't see it. I still don't see it, because he brought up, you know, about her tattoo with the mate, and he stated, I've spent a lot of time with Fisher over the years. He's quite something to look at, so you'll believe me when I tell you that I noticed his new marks immediately. But I didn't need to see the ink on skin to know you were his, did I? I scented you on him the second he showed up here, demanding I let his sister go. I scented your body on him. But the scent of your blood was much stronger. I couldn't believe it, that he'd fed from you. He wore that silver plate at his throat every day he was trapped here in this labyrinth. A gift from his mother, I believe. Pure silver, imbued with some particularly, I can never say that word, nasty magic. I couldn't have torn it off of him if I tried. Adina always was such a thorn in my side. I promised to let Fisher go if only he gave me a taste. I promised to wipe Gilethray from his memory so he'd forget all about this place and what happened here. If only he fed from me just once. I wanted to know the bliss that would come at the points of his teeth, but he denied me. He chose to stay and suffer, and then you, a pathetic, weak human, his mate, it's offensive. But I still don't see that he did anything to him. But I also understand where, like, they did come from, but I just don't feel like it happened.
Yeah.
Cyrus tells him that Kingfisher isn't into the undead. So this is where Malcolm tries to demand that Fisher will be his one way or another, and she will help him heal, and she will help him build an army. I want to kind of know why he's so attached to Fisher, and I had also seen like people commenting on like this one person's theory about him being essayed that he's just kind of like infatuated with him. Like he's just strongly infatuated with him. And see, this is where I have. He started to say he will give himself to, but before he could finish the sentence, Cyrus plunges her dagger into his throat. But I want to kind of go back to his unfinished sentence. This is where I believe that it's kind of safe to assume that he was talking about Kingfisher, but does it also confirm that he wasn't essayed? Because he started to say he will give himself to me. Like, I don't see it.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I don't know. Then Malcolm punches Cyrus in the stomach enough to do some major damage, and her knowing this was it, she was dying. Malcolm then says, I love our Kingfisher the most when his heart is breaking. This gets her very possessive again and pissed because he wasn't allowed to claim her mate. She knew she couldn't kill him with her dagger. At this point, she wasn't worried because she was able to get the pouch that held the coin. She flips the coin, and then Gilethray went still before a fearsome wind slammed into the labyrinth. The people in the stands were swept away. Malcolm was mad and stated they were his to be his army, which tells me even if Fisher was to win this coin flip, he wasn't giving those people up. He wasn't going to set them free from their suffering because he stated he was going to make them his army. Those were his children. So he was never going to release them like he had said.
Yeah.
Cyrus tells him that only the gods are eternal right before she uses Solace to cut off his head. His head then goes up into blue flames, and then his body did the same. Then, as she's like struggling to stay awake and alive, a blast of light from Solace ripped into the clouds, then came back down, setting the amphitheater on fire. The energy that came from the sword hadn't risen in over 1,000 years, so this kind of confirms that Solace is now hers. It's kind of like her sword now that she has actual magic in it. We learned that Madra had left into the Quicksilver as soon as the wind hit. And I want to know, how can she go through the Quicksilver without it affecting her? I'm curious of that, on how she was able to go through it. Lorth and Carrion are dealing with Belican. Their swords are channeling again. And I wonder, did we ever confirm if like Malcolm had something in place that blocked the magic there? Because now everybody has magic in their swords.
Ooh, yeah, he might have.
Like, was he using his magic to block? Because nobody could use magic over there, but he seemed to be able to. So I'm wondering if like he had some type of block. Because now he's gone, they're able to use the magic in their swords.
Went through the Quicksilver, if she went through the Quicksilver, then the Quicksilver is awake. And Nimarel started to channel again when the Quicksilver awakened and he had gone through it and went to Saris. It talks about how once that opened, like he was able to channel through the sword again. So maybe it did have something to do with Malcolm. But the fact that the Quicksilver was open, I think that has a lot to do with the type of magic that it can pull. Like, it fully awakens it, I think.
Mm.
Versus when it's closed, it's like a very minimal amount of that power that they can channel with. I
And
think. I think. I
yeah,
don't
I
know.
see. I don't. And we can probably confirm that Carrion does get magic in Simon. Because
I think
remember,
so. Sounded like that, yeah.
because remember, when Cyrus asked if he was going to get magic, the Quicksilver told him to tell her that it was none of her business, that she had to pretty much wait and see. But now that their swords were channeling, so can we confirm that he got magic? Especially now with he's a king pretty much. He's technically the king
Yep.
of the Winter Palace. So she passes out when she comes to. Teledeus is standing over her and Fisher's at her side. Cyrus brought up that Talena said about God bindings and how she didn't think it would happen so soon. And if you remember, she said that those with God bindings were stories you read about but had a tragic ending. So she's thinking this is their tragic ending. Fisher wanted to give her part of his soul, but if he did that, one, Sarah says he's not allowed to take her free will away because if he gives part of it to her, he will decline and he could die. And she doesn't want that. And if he sacrifices himself, she'd reject their bond in this life and the next one. So she's putting him in his place. The only other option was to have Teledeus turn her. He was second to only Malcolm in power, but hid it so he wouldn't die. She did not want to become a feeder, but Fisher reassures her that she would be like Teledeus. She wouldn't be a feeder. They just didn't know if she would feed or if she would have
Yeah.
to feed. And Taladeus yells at Fisher, saying that they're losing time and if Sarah's consents, so Fisher just consents for her.
I will say that I thought that it was when later on when Tal breaks the
The news to her.
well, he put that cloak over her memories and stuff like that, and so she has him remove that so she can remember everything. That I thought that she was going to remember him giving her consent, and it was going to
Um,
become this big thing. Like, I would have never
the theory
chose
goes
this.
with
You took my choice away from me and blah blah blah. I thought it was going to become that and it was going to be a big deal. I guess there is still time in the second book because she is like, she might resent him for making that
so
decision for
the theory
her.
kind of goes with her
But
memories. So when you talk about her memories, the theory goes with that.
okay. Okay. So we jump in, she's in terrible pain. The amphitheater is falling all around them, like it's crumbling. Like, I feel obviously like Malcolm was the only one kind of keeping all of that together, because it was a death graveyard that had like no magic. Now there's shit just happening. And, Lorth says that they need to form a shadow gate. Fisher's full on panicking. He's trying to get the shadow gate opened. She's, he's got her in his arms. The world's falling silent. She is seeing his face above hers. There's grief on his face. He is, yelling something to Lorith when all of a sudden she hears this voice in her head that says, "The mountain that weathers all storms." She has no energy left at this point, to even react to it. It's just kind of like, I felt in that moment it was kind of like, oh, I always hear the Quicksilver speaking to me. Like, this is nothing new, kind of like, her not having energy to react. It's just kind of like a normal thing that happens in our head anymore. And the voice again speaks to her, saying, "He is the storm, you are the peace that must come after it. Tell me, do you believe in the fate, alchemist?" She closes her eyes, she's crying, and at this point, he is getting the gate open for her, and she knows he's taking her home, and she hears his voice saying, not to drift too far from the shore and to come back. Or this was the Quicksilver speaking to her, the voice and stuff like that, saying not to drift too far from the shore, but to come back. And so then it says, like, we're going to call in our favor. Will you grant us that? Will you honor your word? She asks, what do you want from me? And it replies, we require an audience with you, Sarah's Fane. And will you grant us our favor? And she starts to say, um, yes, I'll grant it as soon as I feel better, blah, blah, blah. When all of a sudden, her body, she like starts to feel that her body's being tugged away. Fisher nearly drops her. He is trying to hold on to her because she's literally like being ripped from his arms at this point. And she feels like she's got this invisible rope wrapped around her. And next thing you know, she's being ripped out of his arms and she's hurling through the labyrinth. Um, and she gets dragged into the Quicksilver. She wakes up. There's a bright blue sky. There's voices talking about her looking like it's dead. Um, one of them even says, "No, Father willed it here, so it's not dead." She's not in pain. She finally kind of sits up, and there's two young women who look about 18 or 19 that are the ones, talking about her, and they're identical. Uh, One of them asks her to tell them what sex is like with their father's champion, talking about Fisher, because apparently they wanted to take him for a spin, but Daddy said, no, 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 no.
I
We're
tell you
not doing
what, I was not expecting who these people were
that.
to
Oh,
be the Quicksilver.
but are there more of them in there, or is it just them? Because, and I want to know later on, why is he protecting them? When everybody is scared of him, they don't want his attention. They only like give him praise or whatever to keep his attention off of them when they go by his statue.
Except for
Like
Fisher.
he
Fisher flips him
says,
off.
yeah, he says that he's protecting them from the others.
See, this whole chapter I'm not gonna lie, that one kind of confused me because I'm pretty sure, like, and I know you haven't gone through it, but I'm pretty sure it was said that he's protecting them, but if she picked the option she wanted, then he was no longer protecting it. But then I think she came out and said that she had to go tell Fisher that they were being protected. They were under the watchful eye of him because he was protecting that. Like, I got lost in this chapter. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. But like
I
why? Like I don't understand.
And maybe that's what we'll get into the next couple of books
Yeah.
because it is a trilogy. A trilogy. Did learn that.
Yeah. The girls continue on saying, we wanted to try him for ourselves. Father forbade it. He deems no living creature from any realm worthy of our touch. We've been waiting an eon for him to gift us with our own playmate, but thus far, no other of our kind has braved the journey to visit our Corcoran. And she's just like super. uh like thrown off, that obviously she knows that she's in the presence of like gods and stuff like that at this point. When one of them asks, "Which one of us do you worship more fervently, thou or Mython?" And she continues on like, we are super competitive over who's most popular. When Saris goes, "How could anyone love thou more than Mython, or treasure Mython more than thou? You're worshipped equally by all those who know your names, my ladies," which throws them into a tizzy being called my ladies, because obviously they're just not used to that and thought that was hilarious. Um, So then, they tell her that father is waiting. He'll be annoyed if we delay any longer. And before she knows it, the scenery changes. And she recognized Zareth just by looking at the back of his head. Obviously, from looking at the back of the statue in the Winter Palace, he's obviously not any different in person, that she recognized him just by the back of his head. Um, He commands her to come forward. She recognizes him as the voice speaking to her in the amphitheater. He asks her if she knows who he is. She does. She calls him Zareth, the god of chaos. And he tells her that he knows she is sister to Hayden, daughter to no one, and mate to his champion. And then he proceeds to say, "We must make this quick or you'll die before you've been of use to me. I will be as concise as I can given the circumstances. I've spent a great deal of time watching the threads of the universe, waiting for one such as you, an alchemist, at last, to reset the balance and clear the way for what is to come." He goes to the edge of the quicksilver pool that surrounded the great tree. He steps to the very edge and looks at her, saying, "Here we stand at the edge of the universe. The roots you see growing down into the earth, into the quicksilver, are the anchors of fate. The silver leaves above mark all the realms of our domain. My family are the stewards of all you see here. We water the roots of fate, we train the boughs and prune the leaves to prevent rot and decay. You see the bough there, the blackened one? He then proceeds to talk about how there is a rot spreading throughout the domain. Realms that are infected with that rot have to be summarily destroyed to protect the rest of the tree and prevent the rot from spreading. And then asks if she understands. Um, which pretty much means like he's cutting these ties, which gets rid of those realms. It destroys billions of people. And then he tells her that she's not the only alchemist out there. Even in Zulvarin, there were millions of them. And
I wonder if it's the
it
people that taught her.
could be. Um, It says, "Even in your realm, even in the city you once called your home, there are hundreds of elemental magic wielders who can command the Quicksilver. But when I consulted the fates long ago, I was very intrigued when I saw you, Saris Bane. Not just you, Kingfisher too. I saw an axis in the flow of things, a burning knot in the tapestry of all that would come to be. When I focused and saw the strength of the bond that connected the two of you together, I admit I attempted to sway the fates." She asks, obviously, like, "What do you mean sway the fates?" He says, "You were supposed to have been born Fae in the same realm as your Kingfisher. So I separated you. Hundreds of years before you were born, I shifted the events around your birth, moved the pieces on the board, and placed you far away in a realm that should never have even come into contact with his. But I watched as the bowels of the universe grew against their nature and aligned in such a way that you would still meet. I foresaw that then that no matter how the boughs and branches of this tree were manipulated, you and he would always collide. There was nothing I could do to stop it." And then, she brings up like his mother was wrong sometimes about small things. Um, but she had predicted her running into her son's life and, the whole ear thing and stuff. Um, she asks why, why would you want to keep us apart? What does it matter to you if we love each other? And he says, in nature, there's a counterweight to everything. Light has darkness, life has death, joy has sorrow, and good has evil. That law applies no matter which realm you exist in. Threads like you and Kingfisher that are drawn together and cross on an axis create a well of power. The energy the two of you draw together attracts an equal and opposite counterweight. Every possible future where the two of you are together ends with the vast majority of this tree dying. None of us can foresee any other way. So she asks, our Fisher and I, the reason that the world, like the end of the entire universe. He tells her, like, not you personally, but the moment where you meet, along with where you become mates, it's a spark, a flame in the dark that draws the moth. It was incumbent upon me to try and stop that spark from taking place, but as you've already learned, the fates themselves would not be guided down that path. She asks if Fisher knows anything. He says no. And he then says that he orchestrated events so that he would be brought there as a young male. His mother had just died, and his disposition wasn't very polite, which honestly made me mad because he was the reason that everything happened with his dad. Like, he pulled those strings. He put him in that position where his mom was commanded to Belican to be married to her, to set him on his, like, more on his path of what he needed to do. Like, he completely just uprooted his entire life. So then it says he made an enemy of my family. He was only allowed to live because I demanded it. I'd spent a great deal of time studying the various outcomes and paths of this universe once you and Kingfisher met. And while I never found a balance, that meant good prevailed. There were pathways that led into uncertainty. And um this is where it says pathways that lead down roads where both the way and the destination are blocked to even my sight, and in all of those veiled futures or a chance to exist for life, there's one common factor. And he says, you and Kingfisher fought at each other's sides and you were God-bound. These oaths mark you as my ward. They protect both you and Fisher from the unwanted attentions of my brothers and my sister. Then it says that they would rather kill Fisher and roll the dice on what comes next. They would prefer to weather the storm on the horizon and replant our tree once the slate has been wiped clean. I don't want that to happen. It would break my daughter's heart. And he says that, he's willing to take a chance for his daughters. Um, and then this is where he brings up, like, if you truly accept Fisher as your mate, then you must agree for the thread of your life to be severed from the tapestry of the universe. Once you do, none of us may affect your future. We won't be able to see you at all, nor will my brothers and my sister be able to interfere with timelines or events that will affect you either. You'll be on your own. So basically, he's saying, like, if she, um, like, her and Fisher will be on their own adventure. So whatever happens is gonna happen. Is basically what he's saying.
He
Like, he
can't. He
can't.
can't pull the
Like,
strings.
he will not be able to see anything that happens. So
But
literally,
how's
whatever
they still?
happens. Like, his brothers and sisters, like, he can't, like, demand them not to fuck with them, but they still won't be allowed to fuck with them.
But
Like,
how's he
they
still
can't
gonna be
get
able to
attention.
protect them though? Like, that's where it kind of confused me. Like,
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah. Um, So, he also tells her, you're not responsible for anything. You just need to live your life because, with all of that information, she's like, I'm a thief. I'm just, one woman. I can't be held responsible. And then he says, uh,
Why is it blurry?
let me put it this way. Do you want your mate to die? She says, of course not. And he tells her that this is how you save him. And then, um, trying to see where I. He narrows his eyes at her and says, "Fuck the fates. They don't get to decide shit for me. I decide what my future is going to be. Did you not just say that mere days ago?" And she's like, "Yeah, I did. Like, obviously. If you truly wish to be master of your own life, then this is how you accomplish that goal." And, she asks how painful the thread cutting will be. He tells her that it's no more painful than the transition that's already happening to her, at that very moment. And tells her that she will be transformed into something. I think this is his way of protecting her if she cuts that thread. Because he
He gives
tells
her
her that
fae back.
he he turns her into half fae, half vampire. It's something no one has ever seen before. The universe cannot focus on something it doesn't recognize. So it's not going to draw the attention of his brothers and his sister.
Mm.
So that in itself is pretty much how he's going to continue to protect her once that thread is cut. Like he
Mm.
can't interfere, neither can they, but she won't be um, like attracting their attention. So talking that out loud honestly makes sense.
Helped,
Where I'm
yeah.
like, I understand,
Yeah, it
but
confused me trying to read it, but now, like, yeah, I get it now.
um he tells her, time's running out, so she agrees to it. I'll do it. And he tells her, best of luck, give Fisher my best, and be off with ya. Shoves her into the fucking Quicksilver. And that's it. Like, that's that. Um, I had, like, to possibly read this story, like, how chapter 45 opens. Um, I honestly was kind of confused by this, like, because I listened to the last few chapters. So I'm like, it talks, about how she's floating on a sea of darkness. She was calm, given her last encounter with the body of water, remembering when they went through the shadow gates to Gilthry after Lane had come through it. And she's just bobbing along in it. But then it says, I was born and died 100 times. And I was like, are you kidding me? Did that, all of that just happen? And she was literally reborn and now they're living a whole other like lifetime in the blink of an eye just for her to get back to him. And, then she goes through all that and all of a sudden she's just in a bedroom. And I was like, okay, now it makes sense. But I literally thought we were ending on like they're gonna fucking meet again. They're gonna have to find each other, and I was I was getting mad, but then it made sense. So she wakes up. She's heaving into the bucket next to the bed. Taladeus is there. He tells her it's what they call the Great Purge, and she's definitely immediately on the defense. Like she's looking for a weapon, she can't find one. And so he kind of like, relates to her saying like, I went through some of the changes, or he tells her, yeah, that what the fuck did I say? Oh, he doesn't relate to her. He tells her that she went through some changes and she'll be able to eat normal again in a day or two. She asks, obviously, what he means because at this point, she doesn't remember anything that happened from the time that they, from the amphitheater. Uh, he's like, you know exactly what I mean. And this is when I thought she's gonna be fucking pissed. Fisher said she consents. She didn't actually consent. Like all hell was about to break loose. And he even brings up, like she thinks about vampire and says, I'm nothing like you. And he agrees. She looks in the mirror. She's got pointy ears now. He tells her, she's half fae, half vampire, is pretty much all that they know, and it's something that no one has ever seen before. And I think she's a little freaked out. She's no longer human. She's not fully vampire. She's not fully fae. She asks about Fisher and if he's hurt. So Tal says, he'll be here soon, but won't tell her like where he is because he promised Fisher that he could be the one to tell her. She's also sensitive to the sun, with the beginning of her transition and everything also. So then he starts questioning, like, hey, what's the last thing you remember? And she talks about how, it was fighting the big three and the coin. She flips it. Malcolm wounds her, and then him and Fisher come. And then she trails off, and he finishes that train of thought by, like, I bit you. Like, then I bit you. He had placed a memory block around what had come next, as, transitioning can be hard. So she demands that it gets removed. He doesn't want to, he tells her that all of that's traumatizing and she wants it anyways. And she sees everything, the fight or the bite, Fisher carrying her in his arms, being pulled into the Quicksilver pool, the conversation with Zareth. She remembered Lorith sitting by her bed, Fisher and Carrion arguing, how she bit Taladeus, and she also wanted to thank him for saving her life, but also wanted to kill him at the same time.
This is the theory, by the way. So before you do the bonus chapter, I'll talk about this theory.
Okay. Um, he tells her this is where he kind of like tries to relate to her, I think. Um, he tells her that he had felt the same. He had actually tried to kill himself once, and then Malcolm forbade him from ever doing it again. Um, now he's free. He's not sure what that means for him. And next, we jump into like our little interaction between her and Carrion with his new Fae look. Like his glamour is gone. And we learn that he's 1,086 years old. His grandma was actually his ward because basically this lady's family fucking inherited him every generation. Like, we're just gonna pass this Fae guy around and pretend that he's like 20 years old for eternity.
Pretty much.
Yeah. And this is where we find out, Fisher's father brought him to Zilvarin to save him from Belicon. Um, Orlena was a slave in the palace who had actually saved him when whatever his dad's name is. I can't think of what his. I wanted to. I wanted to say Renfis, but I'm like, that's definitely not Fisher's dad. But anyways, so that's when they fled.
Finran?
Yes, Fenrin. Yeah, I said Fenrin, so that'll work for me for now until somebody tells me otherwise. So they fled to the third, where, it was going to be easy for them to blend in. Uh, Eventually she became like his grandmother, and then the next one, and basically, he was passed down generation to generation. Um, and okay. Um, where was I gonna read? they talk about, like, Lorith um had kind of like told them a little bit about the family blood or whatever. And it says, he said that your father's blood was used to create the blood curse that allowed Malcolm to become a vampire, and that a vampire can't drink from the living members of the bloodline that created them, nor can they enthrall them. He said that drinking from you should have killed Malcolm instantly, but because he had lived for so long, he was too powerful. He also said that's why Malcolm had Bellican kill your parents, that way, or that they were the only thing that posed a threat to him. Carrion says, I barely remember them, but Fisher says that he does and promises, to tell Carrion about his parents really soon, which I think is pretty big character growth considering, Fisher has hated him since he fucking came because of him smelling like Cyrus and everything.
So, book 2 is Fisher and Karen Go on Adventure. Is it to get after Bellican to get his rightful throne back?
Ooh, maybe. Unless they save that for last. I still think they'll take Madra out first and save.
Or maybe it's both of them. Maybe it's both of them. And
I don't know.
Okay.
So then he asks, if they could have some time to themselves. He asks Cyrus, "Did I do the right thing?" And she takes a really good look at him and notices that there's not a lot of Quicksilver in his eyes anymore. He tells her that Talena had found a way to dampen the Quicksilver, and Ishabal has been teasing it out of him, which I was like, what level of teasing has to happen for that shit to leave your body? Like, that just sounds dirty. I'm gonna tease it out of you.
I don't think it was them. I feel like the god, he allowed it to happen. I
think so too.
After severing the ties. Because she's been doing this for how long and has barely made any progress. And then Cyrus goes and meets the owner of the Quicksilver in Fisher, and she comes back and it's pretty much gone out of him. Yeah, you can't tell me otherwise that it wasn't his doing.
Yeah, for sure.
He didn't have a say in that.
Yeah. So, she's excited. He's not going to lose his mind. Like, everything is going to be well. And, he tells her in her mind, one foot in front of the other. Let's make it through today and then tomorrow. And then the day after. That one will be particularly interesting. She's like, the fuck is happening tomorrow? Like, day after tomorrow. And he opens the window and she sees that they're on the other side of the Darn. Like, they're on the opposite side where Malcolm and all of them are. They were inside Amentreath. And he says, in the Fae courts, the crown is passed down to a regent's heir. But if the regent is murdered, the crown is claimed by the one who slew them. The vampire court has only ever had one king. Malcolm never named an heir. He planned on living forever. He never conceived of the possibility that someone might kill him. And Cyrus learns that she's the new bucking queen of Sanisroth. And until we got the bonus chapter, that's how this fucking ended. And I was like, okay. Still, the bonus chapter doesn't add a whole lot to it, but it's like, what the fuck's gonna happen in the next book?
So doing a little research, I had seen a theory, and I really, really liked this theory. And it made me wonder, the same way. So we know that Malcolm could bite somebody and enthrall them, right? Talladega is second in line to power and hit it. So the theory was Talladega bit Cyrus, and they're not sure if she'll need to feed. Get where I'm going? You don't get where I'm
No.
going, do you? People are wondering if she's going to be enthralled to Talladay's because she tried to bite him. And that's what they're enthralled to their master and they want to feed off of him.
Don't.
Now it was confirmed. It was confirmed that Fisher and Sarah's are endgame and everything. But there's a theory, and I actually like this theory, that there is a chance that she could be enthralled to Talladega. Because once it started taking effect, she tried to bite him. Why did she try to bite Fisher? Fisher was there too. Why was it Tal? I like that one.
That's interesting. I guess we'll find out in a couple weeks.
I really liked that one when I seen it. I'm like, okay, I can get behind this theory. Like, I can get behind this. That maybe it's going to be like a struggle for her with this new transition. Yeah, I really like that one.
This will be interesting.
It will.
At least we only have a couple weeks, and it's not like we have like months.
Yeah, until we read the second book, and then we have to wait for the third one in like 2 years or more.
Yeah.
For like 2+ years. All right, now we can go over the bonus chapter.
Yeah. So that brings us to the bonus chapter. And I have to say, and I've already told you this, that I am happy to have his point of view of the events leading up to the opening of the Quicksilver pool. It's not like his point of view of something we've already read. Like, it's his final moments in the maze, and everything that just kind of trickles down. And we kind of get, when we first, in chapter 5, chapter 6, when he was all like, oh, what is this? Is this a joke? Fucking pathetic, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, it was on our side interpreted as like him calling Cyrus pathetic and, is this a fucking joke? Like, are you kidding me? Type thing. But then we find out, like, this is my mate. Like, I am pathetic. Like, here's my weakness. Like, this is going to be used against me and all of that. So that was really, like, nice to see. But, we open up where he's in the maze, counting his fucking coins.
For the millionth time, like multiple times. For the millionth
time, yes. He has counted like every single one of those coins dozens of times. He's searching for his little flippy flip deal that he was tricked into. This is where we learn, Tal was actually there, like, pretty much keeping him company. Mm-hmm. And, we already know that they were on friendly terms and stuff like that when he helped Cyrus and everything. And this just, like, backs it up. It confirms and stuff that he was basically there, I think, to keep Fisher from going crazy, to giving in to Malcolm, like being or that even, like, do not give up, keep going, like things are gonna change, we're gonna get out, or yeah. And Tal's not talking to him. He's learned that Fisher gives no fucks. He's not gonna reciprocate a whole lot of conversation. I thought this was funny. Like, as he's counting his coins, he gets to 5,986, and then Tal times in then, like, nope, 5,985, you miscounted. So then Fisher is like, I'm just gonna have to fucking start over now. Like, and literally starts recounting. He's thinking at this point he's going to be stuck there suffering until the world ends or he loses his mind, which he kind of feels like he already has in a way. And he even states that the chanting in the background of the Anorath Moor, which I like how we did eventually figure out that that is like a saying that haunts him. But now we know that he has had to listen to this for 150 years or however long he had been in there. That he listened to it so much that it just became background noise ages ago. Um, so to kind of like keep his mind off of things, he asks Tao to tell him of the outside world, which he tells him that it's spring, flowers are blooming, and they start talking. And I kind of liked this part where he like mentions his friends and starts to say their names, and Fisher's like, "No, I don't want to hear about them. Like if um I have to ignore them. Like he's seen them. They've been figments of his imagination. So if he were to acknowledge them, then it would just hurt him all over again because then he'd have to admit that he misses them and he'd be hurt. Um so Tal starts giving like hints like, hey, Belican is moving his troops west towards Galeria. He might even invade the mountain, people for their gold. And, he snipes off like, what does your master say? And Tal's like, well, my king says that only a fool would invade a mountain from its foot while its snows are melting. That would mean that the mud would condemn such a venture to fail before it even begun. I honestly think that Belican made those decisions because we did find out that he was feeding Malcolm's army. Like he was basically sacrificing
Mm-hmm.
people to become part of Malcolm's army. I feel like these are little things that like he was doing. Like I know that's a bad direction to go, but we're gonna go it anyways because chances are you're gonna fucking die and you'll just become a feeder and rise from that grave, so to speak. And Fisher's like Malcolm knows Belicon's mind well enough. He knows what he's up to. And this is where we find that Tal kind of like teeters on that line of what he can and can't say without actually saying it.
It's
And
because he's enthralled. Since he's enthralled
yeah,
to
yeah.
Malcolm.
Um but we kind of get like that whole like this is what happens if you get too close to that line. Like he feels like he's on fire. We don't so much I don't think we so much found out what happens to Fisher when
Every time's
he
different.
like starts to say
Everybody's different. I think everybody's different. Yeah, I don't think we found out, but everybody was different, and it could
yeah,
be different things each time too for that person.
yeah. um so Tal can like indirectly say what he needs to, even though he's bound by his oath, obviously. Um, Fisher calls like bullshit of, like more that but you're not telling me. You're the keeper of his secrets, you know everything he does. And that's when Tal counters like, if he does, I'm not at liberty to say, which is like Fisher picks up that it's like code for I know well and like good what the Evelian king is planning. I can't say it. So
Right.
that's when Fisher starts, picking up on the ins and outs of all of that and continues with, Tal says, like, you tell me what Belican might be doing by heading east to this place. If he doesn't plan on assaulting and all of that. And Fisher finds it, he kind of like dawns on him that, they're going to go east so then he can turn north and that they are heading towards Balkadir. Now, I'm hoping that we find out more information on what Belican might have been wanting to do with going to the Balkadir because that's where the witches were from. That's where Ishabal and stuff were from. Like that's where they had to go to be able to help Lane. So why were at this point, before all this stuff happened, was Belican heading that way? Like what
I
did
think they
he
wanted to
want
get
to
rid
do
of
with
them.
them?
They wanted to get rid of the
Oh,
witches.
that makes
We
sense.
learned
Yeah.
previously that they didn't want it. He was the reason that they hid. They went into hiding, or at least Malcolm, I think, was
Yep,
because
you're right.
of they were blamed for curing
Mm-hmm.
or finding the cure for this or something like. So
Yeah.
they went into hiding. So he probably heard something and they wanted to go directly to them to get them out.
Yeah. You're right. I remember that now. Um, so then we jumped. Hal, tells him that he's got to leave. He's already said too much. And he mentions that he didn't have long because Zavina is stirring up all kinds of trouble back at Amontreath. And that Malcolm had tasked Hal with tamping down her little insurrection before it could find its feet. And we get that hint, that he's not fond of Zavina at all. So it also states that she was like one of the reasons that he was like high up in the ranks with Malcolm or something like that. But like I want more backstory on her.
Yeah, because
Like I
Fisher
want
didn't
to
like
know
her.
what that's all about. Yeah. And Malcolm had actually sent Tal there to make Fisher bleed as kind of like a torture, which ends up now just being
A prick
Tal
to his
poking
finger.
Fisher with the needle. He drops the blood into the maze, and that is like maze tax instead of mom tax. We have maze tax. And, we find out that he doesn't eat, he doesn't drink water, he can't sleep, he can't turn his mind off. And Tal, anytime that he could, score a bottle of wine, he would bring it there for him and says that next time, he will bring him a bottle. Um, Tal leaves, or almost, he's heading to leave, and Fisher goes back to counting his coins when he feels the will of a god sword calling to him, or what he thinks is a god sword calling to him, and something he hadn't felt in over 100 years. Nimarel is right there with him. There's no magic where he's at, so obviously it's not Nimarel calling to him. And he's got this sensation in his chest that at first it felt like a tugging, like a pull, but then it became a tearing. The ground started rocking beneath his feet. He's all of a sudden like winded by that pull in his chest when Tal comes back saying like be careful, you're too close to the edge. Um Tal says that he wasn't the one that had done it, and then he hears a Quicksilver saying like he sees us, he hears us over and over. When the tearing grows worse, he is, struggling to get on his feet. He peers over the edge. There's the Quicksilver pool because nobody thought to look underneath Gilthry. They looked through Gilthry. Um, it was 25 feet wide. It was awake, and it starts beckoning to him, like, come to us. So he's like, I need my fucking sword. Tal asks what he's doing. He's like, I'm getting the fuck out of here. Like, something's calling to me. I'm gonna find out what it is. Like, I'm done. And I thought Tal was gonna, like, put up a fight, but then, like, he hesitates. He doesn't order him to stay. He asks, like, what happens if you die? Fisher's like, who fucking cares? Like,
It's
if I
better than
die,
where
I'm
he
gone. Like,
is.
yeah, at least I won't be here. So Tal's like, okay, good luck. Best wishes to you. Hope you survive. Like, may the odds
Yeah.
be ever in your favor.
It was nice meeting
And
you.
yeah, he jumps through the portal. Um, he he can feel it like probing him, trying to find a way in. I felt like it was kind of like it was trying to connect with that other piece that's already inside him. Like, okay, you have some in there, whatever. But then it's like Um, you know, he is us, we are him. Like it found that piece inside him unexpectedly, which was weird that it didn't know. Like if most of the Quicksilver is connected the way that it is, like how did it not already know that it was inside of him like that?
But I wonder though, because he's got the necklace.
Oh, maybe
And
that
it's
kind
like
of like
a shield.
disguises
It's
it.
like, yeah,
Yeah,
it's like he's
okay.
got a shield over him. So it can't get past that shield. So it probably didn't detect.
Okay. That makes sense. So like he's in it, he orders it to kind of like let him through. He relaxes his body, it gives in. And this is when he descends into the Hall of Mirrors. Heron is writhing on the floor, screaming his odd things that did not make sense to us at first. But then, when we read the end of the book, it all made sense. Uh, Saris is laying there dying on the floor, and he reaches for Nemarel, reaches or lifts him above his head, and he notices that she's holding a sword, but not just any sword, his father's sword. And, he can't believe it. She's human, she's small framed, and she's got this giant hole in her stomach. Like, there's no way in hell, like, she would possibly be able to wield this sword. And this is when he says, like, are you fucking kidding me? Is this a joke? And realizes that he knows her face. He'd seen it in her mother's drawings. He knows what she's supposed to be to him. And basically is like, well, that's unfortunate. Like, this isn't going to go as, what we thought it was going to be. And he's like, where the fuck is Madra? I'm like, I honestly was not impressed at that point.
I wanted
Um,
more. I wanted
yeah.
more.
Heron screaming about the ground, the passages, the obsidian. He's infiltrated with the Quicksilver, but Fisher kind of like, I don't know, spares him. Like, I don't know if he thought the Quicksilver was just gonna finish him
Well, no, because
because
he
he doesn't
states
kill
he's.
him, he just knocks him out.
Well, I think he was tired of hearing him talk, but he's like, I can't
Oh,
change your
he does.
fate. He's like, I
Yeah,
can't
it's
change your
already.
fate. It's already been chosen. So I
Yeah.
wonder though if he just kind of knocked him out so that way it finished it doing its job
Oh, yeah. And
without
had
him
to do
trying to
it
fight back
quietly.
and yeah, he shuts him up.
Yeah. Um, obviously Fisher decides he's going to kill Madra while he's there. He starts to walk away, but the pulling sensation that he was feeling starts to fade. And it's described as it was a faint, gentle pulse like an Oshalith's wings fluttering in his chest when he realizes that it wasn't Solace that was calling to him. It was Saris. And he still, he fought. He wanted to go after Madra, but that's when he decides, he's going to save Saris and gives her the pendant. They go through the silver, and he tells her, you had better pull through this, O'Shaleth. And that's when the nickname comes into play. And that's kind of where we're
Mm,
left.
I wanted more. I needed more
Yeah.
than
I
just
liked
that.
what I liked what we
I
got
liked
though.
it.
I think it was good. It kept us, wanting more and just yeah.
You know,
And we only got 2 weeks.
less
So
than 2 weeks. We have 11 days before book
yeah.
day. Thank you for watching or listening to this week's episode of Chapters Over Coffee, and join us next time for Brimstone and the Dueling Crowns Grimm and Oro book. And don't forget to follow us on socials. We are on TikTok and Instagram as well.